Hello.
Hello,
Welcome. We're
hello, hello.
live. I have apples on in my mouth. But anyway,
Whatever.
we were just talking about the McDonald's disaster. You know, they took that video down.
Did they?
Yeah, McDonald's removed it. Apparently.
I think that's worse.
100% it's worse.
Own it.
Exactly. You know, if like, or you like use it as an opportunity, you know,
Right.
right? Like,
Right.
you know, well, the other day I had a really shitty bite, and the truth
Yeah,
is,
come back with another bite.
you know, everyone deserves a second chance.
Right.
You know, like that would be hilarious, no?
Yeah.
My goodness. Anyway. Hey, Phoebe Joy is here. Hello, Phoebe Joy.
Phoebe.
Yeah, there's a huge synth wall. It happened. You know, kids, I gotta warn you. Analog synths, man, it's a gateway drug to modular. It's really is, man. Anyway, yes, the wall grew. Yeah.
Let's talk about synths.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
You know,
um
yeah, I have a couple things already on my mind about this. Here's
Okay.
what I want to talk about and get into, which I think could be really good. Analog hipsters.
oh
Analog hipsterism. Okay, let's talk about that. And let me just quickly
I
grab
have my
this.
vote. They suck.
Agreed. 100% agreed. So the reason I wanted to talk about it is, hi, Jasmine. Sorry, Jasmine, I didn't put gel in my hair tonight.
Oh,
Sorry.
snap. Gonna get in
Sorry,
trouble
I'm
for that one.
slipping. I'm slipping, but I did have to put together all this analog stuff this week. Anyway, okay, so let's talk about analog hipsterism. Okay, so I have always said this, that first a quick little funny story. A friend of mine in Los Angeles, his friend was a recording engineer as well. And my friend, by the way, his name is Ryan Freeland. You can Google him if you want. Anyway, he was the assistant of Bob Clearmountain for about 7 or 8 years. And I actually got to go to his studio, Clearmountain studio. It's like nothing you've ever seen. Anyway, his friend was a sound engineer and basically got a group of like 5 or 6 engineers together, and they hooked up, you know, some really high-end speakers, and they used Monster cable. They used sort of just standard off-the-shelf professional speaker wire, and then they used coat hangers.
Right.
No one could hear the difference.
Yep.
I mean, it's just that simple, right? So, oh, you know Bob Clearmountain. All right, cool, man. Yeah, I mean, all you got to say is
Legend.
he mixed Born in the USA. I mean, that's all you got to say. What else do you want, right? Along with, you know, hundreds of other iconic hits that you know and love. Anyway, so his studio was insane. Like I never saw anything like it. It was incredible. My God. Oh my God. I only went once. No, twice I went. So anyway, so hipsterism. I have always said that if you can show me someone who can hear the difference between 16-bit 44.1 and 48K 16-bit or 24-bit 48K, they're probably not actually making any real music. They're probably sitting with their oscilloscopes in their laboratory measuring things, but not really listening. Now, do I think there's a reason why, you know, film and television, etc., uses higher sample rates and higher bit rates? Sure, because, you know, in a movie theater where you've got, you know, whatever 9.4, so like, you know, the most, probably no such thing, but where you have the most ridiculous, you know, Dolby surround system with the most unbelievable bass response known to humanity. yes, it makes a difference. Actually, it makes a difference there. But if you're just walking down the street with your AirPods Pros, I
Which
really,
is compressed audio anyway, and most people can't hear the difference between compressed audio and
right,
uncompressed audio.
sure. But that's not what I'm saying though. I'm saying the difference between 16-bit 44.1 and 24-bit 48. Neither are compressed. They're both full pulse code modulation, right? They're fully uncompressed wave. So if you were to listen to both of those, yeah, you're right. Listening on your AirPods on your iPhone, if you're listening to Spotify, yeah, that is compressed, sure. What I'm saying is if I were to take my own mixes of my music, load both versions, most people are not going to be able to hear the difference. Now, guys like deadmau5, who I have an incredible amount of respect for, he can hear the difference between MP3 and between Wave 16-bit 44.1. So God bless him. That's what he says anyway, right? In his
Many people say they can hear the difference. My question is if you do a blind test,
okay, but
can you hear the difference?
I'm going to take him at his word because I'm assuming in his studio he's got the most insane Dolby Atmos system known to humanity. Because that guy needs to know, what does my music sound like in the club? So I'm sure he's got the heavy dual subs and everything, which you could probably hear some difference there. My point is this. These guys, the true analog synthesizers versus the plug-in.
Right.
And here's where I want to kind of jump into this idea. So I, before moving to Italy, I used to own, and I sold and regret selling. I had two of these Super Jupiters with two programmers. I had a Juno 106, sold. TR-909, sold. TR-808, sold. JXAP, sold. JD-800, sold. Did I say JXAP Juno 106? Yeah. So basically I had all these amazing analog. I used to have the Planet S, the MKS-30. I used to have the two MKS-7s. I kept one of them. So what I'm trying to say is I know Roland. I know the Roland sound. I'm deeply intimate with the Roland sound. And what I'm going to tell you is with the Juno 106, that was my workhorse. That was just my go-to workhorse. I used it on everything. And of course the Jupiter. Believe it or not, though, I used the Juno 106 more for some very ironic reasons. But it was the ease of use, really. This thing is not easy to work with. It is not an easy synth to control or work with. First of all, you have to leave it on for 5 or 10 minutes before you can even use it, because of the oscillators, the real analog oscillators. The Juno 106 has DCOs, digitally controlled oscillators. So this whole idea that it's like an analog synth, no, they're digital oscillators, man, or digitally controlled oscillators. Anyway, Nick, it's okay. I've got one of them back in my rack. No broken hearts. Anyway, so here's what I was telling you this a little bit earlier, right? So I have two versions. So for those that don't know, the Jupiter 8 is, the MKS 80 is supposed to be a Jupiter 8 rack mounted. So no keys. And it's controlled through MIDI. And, but those who own this, some prefer the sound of this to the actual Jupiter 8. Some people prefer the Jupiter 8 sound over this, So this came out only 1 year after MIDI got invented. So it's very, very archaic MIDI technology. So I'll give you an example why it's so hard to work with. So on this guy up here, if I move and I tweak the knobs, I can record that into Logic, no problem, right? And play it back, no problem. This creates literally a MIDI feedback loop. The whole thing panics, and it basically, like when R2-D2 was on Cloud City and he's trying to unlock something, and then his circuits blow, and then he, gets everything. Are you guys with me? Do you know? Right. I'm starting to feel like there's a whole generation out there who's never seen Star Wars. Anyway, so that's kind of
Yeah.
what happens to the Jupiter when you try and write the SysX data. Back in the day when I was, doing X-Men Mutant Academy, this was my star synth on X-Men. That and the JXAP, those are the two synths I used. I had to kind of get into really nerdy MIDI patching and SysX data filters and stuff to be able to actually, it took me forever to figure it out because the same problem existed back then, but I found a way around it. Anyway, why am I saying all this? Because Luna Morley breathed Star Wars. Well, damn it, I'm going to have to get a Star Wars emote of some kind.
Right. Right. You need a Star Wars
I have no
emote.
Star Wars emotes, man. Okay, but I'm saying all this because I know Roland synths very, very, very well. Now, the Juno 106 plugin from Roland, basically, it's like 99% exactly the same. The Usual Suspects that recreated the JP8080 up here, and
Right.
the same team that also rebuilt the Access Virus. This team, like they literally sound 100% identical. They're digital synths. They literally are one-to-one perfect. Same thing with the JD800. That was a all digital synth. The XV5080, which I also never sold. It's in the rack, although you can't really see it. But it's a digital synth. It sounds exactly the same. So the pack pipes, they're 100% authentic when I play them from the plugin. So, Miles is saying, I think I've only ever seen the original Star Wars. Episode 4
That's all you
or
need.
the trilogy?
That's all you need. You're safe.
If he's seen the trilogy, he's safe. But if
Right.
he's only seen A New Hope, honestly,
Well,
I
the
mean,
story isn't complete. Yeah.
it's the first episode of 3 episodes that you must see together, because Lucas originally envisioned it as one film, but realized it'll be like an 8-hour film. So
Right.
anyway, so the original movie, episode 4, yeah. So you have to watch episode 5, which hands down everybody agrees is the best of all the Star Wars, and it's like in the top 10 greatest films ever made. So what do you want? Okay, going back to, purists and people who say, the people that annoy me, I'm not going to use the word hate because
Frustrate.
we have love in our heart on this show. So these annoying people say, oh, analog sounds better. No, it doesn't. It just doesn't. The one of the synth designers, the main synth designer at Cherry Audio, and I'm quoting him, said, analog is more digital. Digital is more analog than analog. I'll repeat, digital is more analog than analog. And the reason he said this is that there are things that you can do digitally that are just not possible with analog. You can't do them, right? And the guy from Empirical Labs who worked with Universal Audio, remaking the Distressor, one of the most iconic solid state compressors ever made, said the UAD version is just better than the hardware because I was able to do in digital what was not achievable in analog hardware. That's the guy who made one of the most iconic compressors.
I mean, how do you
all
define
time.
better, though?
More functional.
So when people say analog sounds better,
what
does
do
that
they mean?
what does that really mean?
Well,
More harmonics, more, it just like
So-
how could it sound better, and by what definition are we talking about?
I can explain it. So when digital recording, like the original Sound Tools, which went on to become Pro Tools, recording engineers sort of realized that, you literally just get the cleanest, most unlifelike signal. So if you record just a guitar You know, if you, whatever, turn on your amp and you plug in your guitar and you just slap a mic on it and you record directly into Pro Tools, you get almost like a sterile, exact carbon copy of your signal. Well, okay, I'll give you some great examples here. If you listen to some of the like Led Zeppelin 1 or Led Zeppelin 2, there's a couple of songs, and I can't remember which ones off the top of my head, but you will literally hear a strange vocal Robert Plant before he actually sings it. So there's like all this sort of space, and then he'll deliver a line, but right before the line, you'll kind of hear it like super, super soft. And so in the old days of analog, there was a way of storing tape. Either you're supposed to store it tails out, because in other words, the end of the tape should be the first thing when you store the tape. And so if you do tails in, what happens is some weird, you know, some of the atoms, I guess, in the tape. And, you know, I never worked in commercial, you know, 24 track, 2-inch reel to reel studio. So I can't, you know, I just know of this. I mean, I did record. I had an 8-track, 1-inch tape recorder way, way back in the day. But anyway,
we heard the music.
What?
We heard the music.
You heard what music?
Your music that you recorded on that, didn't we? Like your very first song ever when you were like 15 years old?
No, that was a 4-track. That was a 4-track. That was a 4-track 1/4-inch tape. That was like, or 1/8 of an inch tape. Like that was like cassette tape. Right. 4-track cassette. No, I'm talking about a reel-to-reel 8-track 1-inch tape. So proper tape. Anyway, because that's all people like us could afford back then. But the point is, you would hear this weird phenomenon that only happened from storing the tape incorrectly. So the person who, you know, I guess finished the session, rewound the tapes back to the beginning and stored them that way. Well, they're supposed to go tails out. And so that's why these phenomena occur in this Led Zeppelin, where you just in the way back distance, you can kind of hear a vocal, and it's like, where's that coming from? These are some of the mysteries of analog. So it's not that it sounds better, but that phenomenon can never occur on Pro Tools. Never. It's just like literally impossible. So there is no way of saturating in digital. You can't, you can only saturate with analog circuitry. So you can have solid state saturation, and you can have analog saturation. Saturation is just another word for gentle distortion, right? And you can distort, okay? But in Pro Tools, it's like just like a receptacle. Like whatever you give me, that's what I'll give you in return. Right. So it's not that analog.
That's what I was trying to get at. How do you define better? Okay, I know it sounds different.
Okay, I'll say this, that I think that there's a certain character that comes from working in analog equipment. And I'm going to go back now to this idea of the Jupiter. So the Jupiter 8 is supposed to be this is supposed to be a Jupiter 8, but in the rack. So as I was mentioning earlier, I took a photograph of every single parameter on the synth on this little LCD screen here. It's not actually on right now. So this little LCD will tell you each value that each one of these parameters is set to. So I took a photograph of each one, every single oscillator, every single filter, everything. And then I literally one-to-one programmed it inside the plug-in version made by Roland, the original manufacturer, and the Arturia version of the original Roland.
Right.
And it just didn't have the magic. It just wasn't there, Bobby. And I mean, I did like 20 or 30 different versions. I saved every single one of them. And it just, I can't get that big, beefy, fat. There's something I just can't explain. I literally cannot get the Jupiter, which is famous for its bass. Well, this is better, man. I mean, it's warmer, it's fatter, it's bigger. I tried, Bobby, and I always, hands down, never listen to the argument of, plug-in will never be as good as the original. I would always say to those people, fuck off. You don't know what you're talking about. But for the first time in my life, after 30 or 40 attempts, I'm looking at those people and I'm thinking, okay.
So I think analog for sure, right? Because it's analog, right? So depending on so many different factors, the sound will be slightly different.
Right.
And will have various amounts of saturation or distortion applied to it depending on, what kind of electricity you're using, how hot the day is, how hot your studio is.
And humidity will affect this.
Right. Everything will affect it. So it will definitely change the sound. I don't know about digital hardware.
What about it? Don't you know?
I don't think that there's any difference between a digital box and a plug-in.
Digital box, like, define what you mean.
Hardware that's not
box.
Analog. That's
like a solid state
uses DSP.
analog.
Yeah, right.
So what you're saying is that there's no difference between an analog.
No, analog
solid state.
And I'm not talking about analog at all. I'm talking about when you have boxes that have DSP in them, digital signal processors.
Yes,
and they're just basically
correct. like the Eventide Ultra Harmonizer, the H3000.
Right.
Yes, correct. Right. Literally,
I don't think
it's
there's
identical.
a difference between.
It's identical. Yeah. No. That's I understand you now. Yeah. So, yeah, the one of my favorite boxes over there, above the red one. That's the Eventide H3000. And yes, the plug-in sounds 100% like the original. It just does. I agree with you on this. What I guess, going back to this idea of, why is analog better? Well, when we listen to, the music of Frank Sinatra or the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, The Who, this was 100% analog, And
so, let's dig into that.
Okay.
Because this is something I think about when I think about film a lot. When you look at movies from the 70s, Star Wars, perfect example. Every frame is a picture, right? Every frame is a painting. The contrast levels, the lighting, all that, the film grain, it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
And we look at movies today, specifically the Netflix effect, where things are just dull and there's no contrast, there's no shadow, everything is flat lit. One of the reasons they do that is because they don't want to commit on set. They want to make the decisions in post.
Right.
So that's a whole different argument. But the idea that the impurity of the format is what gave it its magic, is that just nostalgia? If we had started with perfect, digital photographs and perfect digital sound, and then people started adding, record pops and analog saturation and distortion, would we then look at it differently? Is it just through the prism of this romanticized nostalgia?
I don't know, but look, okay, let's get this argument and we'll simplify it, no? So the people who say that records sound better than MP3s or better than, compact disc, there's a reason we, abandon vinyl, because, nobody wants to listen to a Beethoven symphony, the soft pianissimo passages with
right.
No one. And we had to come up with a better format. And, CD was invented by Philips and Sony. It was like a joint venture. And I think it was the CEO of Sony, in fact, because the original compact disc only held 1 hour of music. And he refused. He said, we're not releasing this unless it can hold exactly 74 minutes. Now, why 74 minutes? Because that was his favorite recording of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. Ninth, excuse me. The ninth was 74 minutes. And so there's a very good example right there, Bobby, which is that when you perform Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, depending on your interpretation of tempo, you know,
Right.
allegro non troppo, you know, like,
Right.
you know, prestissimo, you know, well, that means very fast, you know. So what does that translate? And this is why eventually we settled on BPM, so we could have precise tempos.
Right.
So some people will record at 74. Some recordings of the ninth will come in at 72 and a half. Some will come in at 76 minutes, right? But
Right.
his favorite
All
recording
depends
was
on the
74.
conductor and what he did. Yeah.
Yeah. So, right. Well, but that's also dependent on in the analog system, right?
Right.
So, you know, it's I think that these inconsistencies give character to a
Yeah, I
particular symphonic interpretation. So,
Right.
you know, if the flutes are supposed to be pianissimo and the cellos are supposed to be piano, again, the conductor will use their own ear to say, actually, no, just a little down from where you are now. And so, well, it's the same thing with a recording engineer, because the recording engineer is the conductor, but in the studio, right?
Right.
And so they'll say, you know what, I'm going to use the Pultec EQ because that's going to have a very different sound than the 1073 EQs, you know?
Yes.
And I guess that all these iconic recordings were made using all that iconic analog gear. And, you know, when Pro Tools, you know, sort of was on the rise in the 90s, yeah, like I remember, you know, engineers would complain like it's just shit. It's shit in and shit out, you know, like there's no character. It's cold, it's static, it's stale.
Right.
And this is why eventually, like I remember the first sort of Pro Tools available plugins were third party anyway, were a company called the Bomb Factory. And they remade the LA2A, they remade the 1176. And this was the first time you could get these iconic compressors for, and the Pultec EQ they did, the 1A. And so, you know, it became big business developing these old analog because, yeah, digital, it's agnostic. It's sonically agnostic.
Right.
It just doesn't care. Doesn't care. It's like, I'm digital. Right. I'll recreate exactly what you feed me. So I guess going back to this whole idea, you know, is analog better? No, it's not better, because if analog was better, we wouldn't have computers. End of story. We wouldn't have digital computers. I mean, if I said to you, all right, well, let's go back to Alan Turing's original, you know, analog computer that they used to crack Enigma, right? Would you say to me, that's great? Yeah, man, analog computers, man. You know, if I said, hey, let's go back to dot matrix printers, would you just be like, yeah, man, they printed so much better? Like, no.
I mean, they were cool.
They had their moment. They had their moment. Right. It was mostly the sound of a dot matrix printer that it made was like cool. Anyway, you know, so progress is always going to take us in a forward direction. But I think that a lot of people were like, hey, why is it that when I record like this, I don't get that sound like the Beatles, right? Why are my drums not like fat and juicy the way they were on so many Beatle records? Well, you know, they used the Fairchild 660 specifically on the drums. They used the 670 as well, usually on bass. But they did all kinds of crazy, innovative things at Abbey Road Studios to, you know, make the most iconic recorded sounds of all time. And so I think a lot of people said, like, what, you know, we're not getting that, right? But then, you know,
But is that just nostalgia? Is that just saying,
no,
you know, it doesn't sound like how I heard it. You know, it doesn't sound like the Beatles record. But I just wonder, if we started first with digital, would people then be striving to get as close to the clearest,
I don't know,
you know,
I mean,
most sterile sound?
Honestly, I have no idea. But I'll tell you a couple things. If you look at Daft Punk, one of their favorite
Okay.
compressors of all time is the Alesis, I think is the 3630 compressor. I don't remember. Anyway, it was a
Okay.
cheap, cost
Right.
$50 new, you
Yeah.
know. They loved the sound of that, and it was solid state. They chose it over every other compressor. They used it religiously. Okay.
That's their
And
sound.
well, and exactly. So they didn't. So it's just partly answering your question of would we want to go back? Well, they saw the future and they were just like, this cheap little compressor sounds amazing for the music we're making.
Hmm.
If you look at the Distressor, that's all over Nevermind, Nirvana, right?
Yeah.
And Butch Vig, right? Who made that
Yeah.
record.
Yeah.
And you know, like there's a ton of solid state stuff going on, and but it was recorded on a Neve console, right? A full analog Neve, probably late 70s, early 80s model. The guy, the CEO or the founder of Sound City, like he had that custom built, like put out a second mortgage on his house just to get that console. And like, yeah, anyway, oh God, the Dave Grohl documentary on Sound City. I lost every ounce of respect I ever had for Dave Grohl after watching it, because he paints this beautiful story about Sound City and the guy who built it and how he loved music and everything was about music, and he mortgaged his house to put that Neve console in and blah, 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 blah. And you're just like, oh, fuck, you know? And so, and then he's like, so then when I found out that Sound City was, you know, going out of business,
Yeah.
I had to buy the console and I put it in my house. And I just thought, you fucking selfish piece of shit.
I thought you were about to say he bought Sound City.
Exactly.
I was like, wow,
Exactly.
that
Why
like,
not, with your
how did you hate him?
millions and bazillions of dollars from Foo Fighters, you chose
Yeah.
to selfishly take the heart out of the studio and put it in your personal home studio, which you bill out to other people when you're on tour. What a fucking douche. I lost because he's so sweet and soft and gentle, but selfish, you know?
Yeah.
You should have
yeah.
bought Sound City, left every bit of gear inside exactly as it was when you made Nevermind, and then let young upcoming bands work there for $10 an hour. You know, like that's what I would have done if I had that kind of money. I would have left it because it was a
Right.
piece of iconic history. Do you know how many people like Fleetwood Mac recorded there? Nirvana, like so many people. And I just lost all my respect for him. Like, I guess maybe I'm being pretentious because he's got a right to do whatever he wants. He wanted the console. He's got the console. But, you know, I would have set up a trust and a foundation to basically leave behind, you know, whatever, $100 million, which I'm sure is change to him, to like basically let young artists record there like for the next, you know, 100 years after his death. That's what I would have done, you know,
Right.
but I'm
Right.
not king.
It
So
was
anyway,
that same story. It's interesting because I forget who is the guitarist. Fuck. There's a famous guitarist that geez, he's not that old. He's like in his 40s or 50s. I can't tell you his name. Anyways, there was a recording studio in Los Angeles that had been around since the 20s, and he bought it, and it was about to go under, and he bought it and kept it as a recording studio. And I think it got like a Los Angeles city historical site designation also to make sure that it never
okay.
was destroyed. I can't remember the name of any of them, but that's what Dave Grohl could have done.
Sure. Yeah, because that is a piece of cultural history,
Should
that
have done.
studio. And anyway, let's catch up on the chat, by the way. But
Right.
but
JT has an interesting.
I just wanted to quickly point out that I think that all plug-in versions of analog synths sound basically 95% like the original. And, you know, in terms of the work I do professionally, more than good enough. It's those really subtle, little, tiny little details that most people would never even know the difference. I'm beginning to sort of understand a little bit of that. So, but anyway, let's catch up on the chat, because I feel terrible now. We didn't look at the chat. Let's see.
So JT has an interesting story about how he was recording. Said they stopped the band with the tape running, heard somebody talking. When we went back to listen, there was clearly a female voice saying, "Turn to the east." No women were present for miles, I guess miles. I don't know where the studio was, but that's an interesting story.
Okay. Very good.
But that's the fun part about, having analog stuff.
Well, sure. It's part of that charm. Sure.
Right.
Yes. Accidents can happen. And actually, Level 42, one of their albums was called In the Pursuit of Accidents, which I just thought was such a great title, no?
Yeah.
Spin is saying, I'm trying to render with the Osiris plugin, but it has a notable delay for some reason. Check your settings. For me, it's always been rock solid. Iconically, Miles, the original Star Wars, seems to be the only one we know the least, because everyone talks about Empire. Because Empire was just it's a masterpiece of cinema. It really is. Yeah. One of the best movies ever made. You just can't argue.
I got to see the remake in the theater.
Yeah, I saw all three in the theater. Yeah. In fact, I still have my ticket stub. Opening night of 1997, I got in at the 11th, in LA at the Mann's Chinese Theater.
Brilliant.
I stood in line.
Wow.
For like 14 freaking hours, and I met my future girlfriend on the line. She was the one standing right behind me, and we're there 14 hours. We fell in love on the on the lineup on Hollywood Boulevard in front of the Mann's Chinese Theater.
Okay.
And you know what? I got the 11:55 show PM, so 5 minutes before midnight. So literally, I got opening day, and my ticket stub is on opening day. Mann's Chinese Theater, damn it! That's how much I love Star Wars. But I'll never forget. Like, there's 10 minutes of like the previews, and everybody's like laughing at all the previews. And before the previews, some poor guy went up and jumped up on the speaker grill and like was waving his lightsaber, and then security escorted him out. And he's like, "No, be good, I swear." Oh God, it was heartbreaking.
What did you think, man? Like, dude, you can't do
anyway,
that.
But so everybody's laughing and interacting with, and everyone's like laughing and making fun of the trailers, right? And then all of a sudden you see Lucasfilm. Not a sound. Not a sound, not a cell phone, nothing. It was dead quiet. And
that was the era of THX.
This is the Mann's Chinese Theater. This is the best movie theater on planet Earth. End of story.
Yeah.
And then, bang, you see the Star Wars, you hear that opening B flat chord, and literally every single person.
I bet.
And it was at that precise moment I finally felt that I belonged to a Generation X. That was what defined us in a lot of weird ways. But all right, even Return of the Jedi, I knew way more about. So this big thing happened a couple of years ago. Yes. No physical tape, digital. Okay. I'd say that the attention to contrast was a valuable tool for the skilled artist to use. Shifting to shooting flat to fix later. I don't know.
Talking about lighting.
I know. I get it. I don't know how I feel about it, honestly. I think that, look, man, when you watch The Godfather, it still looks like $1 million, that movie.
Right.
You watch, any of those films from back in the day, they look great, but I don't think that modern Netflix, I don't think it looks bad at all, is that my cat? Hey, think my cat is causing problems. So yeah, I don't know about that. The fix it later approach is a plague we can't stop. Yeah, I don't know if it's a plague, Nick. I don't know. I don't
I
think
think
it's
so. I think so. I
okay.
think here's why. I
Okay.
think that when you don't commit to something, okay,
You're right. I know I
when
know
you
where you're
don't
going.
plan, when you don't sit there and think to
You're
yourself,
right.
okay, the famous story is Werner Herzog. The man worked in like a steel mill to pay for every second of his film, right? And he says today, he says people shoot coverage like 4 to 6 or 8 hours of film for a 2 hour movie. He's like, I don't shoot any coverage. I know what I
Mm.
need. I
Yeah,
plan
it's
for
true.
it. I don't
It's
I don't
true.
go overtime. I make sure. And I think it's the planning that makes good art. You know?
Tell that to
The
Jackson
thought,
Pollock. Sorry.
well, I
Sorry.
wouldn't call Jackson Pollock good art, so I don't know.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, neither would I, but
I
whatever.
think it's the dedication to the craft that gets lost when you say to yourself, whatever, we'll do it later.
Yeah. Yeah. I
You know, you like to mix and master on the spot,
That's right.
right? You
That's
don't want to
right.
just be
Because
like,
I don't
okay,
want to
later
go.
I'll get to how it sounds.
But in fairness, if I did ever need to go back pre-master, I can. Which is why
Right,
I'm very
right. It's a
religious
different,
about, making sure all my plugins are compatible. And, recently I've been going through and cleaning out some of the slop that I have, just like, you know what, I haven't used that in 5 years. I'm going to, just remove it and bypass
hmm
it and then just, or hide it in Logic. And
right,
yeah, so I guess so. Look, I'm going full circle. I mean, that's partly why I'm, getting into all this stuff, right? It's the
right.
idea of, I was telling you before, like the sequencer module here on the ARP 2500. It's like analog. You can't sync it to your DAW. You can't, it's not quantizable. It's like not perfect. And I'm really getting back into this and even when I was working with the Super Jupiter, I remember once like tweaking and I made a kick drum sound. And I'm just like, holy cow, that sounds exactly like a 909 kick drum. And I remember I sampled it a bunch of times, and I don't know what I ever did with them, but it was this idea that I had to capture the moment. Because look, with the Super Jupiter, I was going back to my X-Men Mutant Academy music, to the main title theme, in fact.
Right.
And I was comparing the original, because thank goodness, I made a stem of the MKS80 part from the X-Men main title theme. And I was trying to A-B, and they didn't sound the same. Like, they were slightly different because one was done 25, 30 years ago. And the other was done a couple months ago. And then the funny thing is, but I still committed it. I made a stem from my new old
Right.
Jupiter. And I was like, wow, they sound really, really different. Anyway, 3-4 hours later, whatever, I went and had lunch, played with the cat, whatever, watched some YouTube. And I came back into the studio, and Jupiter's still on, and, and I just hit play, and I'm just like, what the hell? It sounded completely different.
Right. Right.
Different because it was on. The humidity
Right. It warmed
changed,
up.
the heat. It was a different time of day. The sunshine was. I mean, like, who
Yeah.
knows the voodoo and witchcraft involved in the analog circuitry of this? But it sounded really different, and so I recorded it again. And so, when we talk about repack, like what would I do differently? Well, now I have 3 stems: the original stem,
hmm
the 1 month ago minus 4 hours, and then the 1 month ago stem, so like,
Right.
and I have all 3, and then I kept the original in the center at
Okay.
full volume, and then about maybe minus 3 or 4 decibels softer, panned left and right. I have the 2 new versions that are out of tune with each other, but sounds
Right.
amazing. Fuck, sounds so good. So yeah, I don't know, man. I think that, history will always judge us, I think that, in 30 or 40 years, yeah, filmmakers may just like ignore completely what happened, between 2010 and now. Like they'll call it the dark ages of cinema. Yeah, because I agree. But too much planning is not a good thing, I think, because then you can spend your whole life just planning and never executing,
Well,
right?
I mean, yeah, yeah.
I mean, look,
But
look. Yeah, go ahead.
well, I think the equivalent of this for music would be something like, I don't know, you just record your stems at a with no plugins and anything, and then it's really hard because we get to go back. We don't have, okay, I know the equivalent. You're recording with a live orchestra and you tell all of them to play a mezzo forte for everything. And you're like, I'll just play with it in post. I'll change the volumes
Right.
and do it. You're not going to get the, no matter how much you try, you're not going to be able to change mezzo forte to piano or pianissimo,
No, but
right?
you will be able to come up with things that you couldn't have come up with otherwise. And I'm speaking directly from experience, and I'll tell you exactly how this happened. On the Reign of Titans soundtrack that I did with a live orchestra, I literally wrote something thinking as a percussionist on a xylophone rather than thinking of string players. So I wrote an impossible to play string passage at the tempo I was at, and it was fast 16th notes at, I don't know,
Right, right.
whatever, 140, 150. And so they couldn't play it. And I said, all right, let's record it at half time. So then when I tried to kind of chop everything up to get it to go to 16th notes, it just didn't sound good. But I had 3 or 4 different versions of it. So what I did was I simply staggered by 16th notes. So I took the 2 takes and played them as 8th notes, but then offset another one by 16th note. And I came up with something I never in a million years could have ever dreamed. And it's to this day, it's like so cool sounding. So,
Right.
but I also just wanted to quickly mention to all the people who are, fans of the Pac-Man world too, not a single plugin. There were no plugins then. They didn't exist.
Yeah.
Everything is analog and real. And I mean, there were digital samplers, there was digital reverbs, there was the Eventide H3000s. There were all these amazing pieces of digital technology, but there were no plugins. So, but, the XV3080, which has the famous pack pipes, just ask Spin,
Right.
that's a digital synth. So, anyway,
Back to the chat, huh?
what's that?
I said back to the chat.
Yeah, I'm just seeing if we're missing anything here, but I think we're fair. There's not a whole lot of our little stream is not picking up steam, that's for sure. So, guys, invite your friends, man. Help us grow this little thing. I think it's that we're switching more to a podcast format. I think we lost all the Pac-Man World 2 fans. They're not
Thanks,
coming.
Ben and Nick are still here. And
Yeah, but they're superbly awesome human beings.
they are. Jasmine's here. Lena. Actually, these are all our Pac-Man friends.
Dear me.
Oh, Luna. Not Lena.
I just a really funny thing little story I caught on I think it's like there's a Microslop Discord server, and like
Right.
Microsoft went in there and basically is now banning the term Microslop,
Right.
saying this term is not appropriate.
No, it's appropriate.
It's very appropriate.
It's
But isn't it incredible, like the backlash against AI, and they just can't handle it because they poured so many bazillion dollars into it?
right.
Seems crazy,
Right.
man. Anyway,
I mean, well, the next version of Windows, there's a leak. I don't know. No one knows how true it is, but it seems like it's a like subscription-based modular thing where you can if you want AI in Paint, you can pay a little bit more. If you want AI in your browser, you can pay a little bit
a
more.
subscription OS?
Yeah, a modular subscription. So the core OS will still be free, but then you can like add little AI subscriptions to it and
You know, what it is, the long game, what it means when you say we're playing the long game.
Yeah.
Well, Apple, I think, is playing the long game because
And
their
has been for
MacBook
a while.
Neo is going to freaking dominate. It's going to dominate.
Yeah.
It's a piece of crap, but it doesn't matter.
No, it's fantastic.
What?
I think for its price point,
Yeah.
what it gives you
No.
is
I'm
fucking
saying
amazing.
for like a Logic user that needs to run plugins and
But it's not for a Logic user.
that,
Yeah.
no. But
Right.
when I
right,
said it's a piece of crap, I'm saying for people like us that need
Right.
multiple cores, that need I don't know, more than 8 gigabytes of RAM. But yes, for the price, it's incredible. And the point is, I think that Windows, it's going to be a thing of the past because so many people are switching to Linux, but now Apple just gave a reason to switch over to the Mac. For $500, if you're a student, to get a Mac, I mean, come on, man, that's insane. So I think a lot of people are going to switch over to Mac. And it's a beautiful, slick, elegant, but as soon as I looked at the specs, I'm like, I will never own one of these.
It's not. It has no purpose for us.
None. Zero.
I was tempted because
it's beautiful. It's a beautiful
it
little
looks
thing.
nice. It looks nice.
Yeah.
So when I travel, I basically have my iPad, the M4 Pro, and it has the keyboard with it, right? Mm-hmm. And I use that to do a good chunk of like programming or SSHing into other servers and stuff. And at one point I thought, that could be kind of cool. But then I realized I already have the same thing. I have actually a much more powerful system. I don't really need to run Logic on it. So I was close, my point. But yeah, it's like I said, it's perfect for taking notes, spreadsheets, students. It's really perfect. And it will take a big chunk out of the Chromebook world. Because right now students basically are on Chromebooks.
Right.
That's their bread and butter.
And this is the Chromebook now. It's the Mac Chromebook basically. So, Spin was just asking how much RAM do I compose with? I have 128 gigs in this beast. This is the Mac Studio over here. Can't coordinate. There we go. It's the M1 Ultra. From 2021. Still is my workhorse. Works like a champ. Love it. Yeah, no need to upgrade at this point. I'm very tempted by these new MacBook Pros though, man. Holy cow. They look really juicy. The M5 Max, man, with 128 gigs of RAM on a laptop. Yeah, it's looking pretty jucy, but you know what?
I know. I started pricing it out too.
Yeah, as soon as you price it out, you're like, I don't need that. And now
another $5,000 down the drain.
Yeah, they don't even come with a power brick. Can you believe that?
No, yeah, it's extra.
Yeah, they're just
Unreal.
Wow. I guess because all the RAM prices are so high, they got to cut costs somewhere. But anyway, yeah, I don't like. I don't need these modular synths either, but that is going to spawn creativity that normally I would never have. Like it's going to push me in a new direction. A Mac is just a piece of gear and it just literally just runs. It's the brain of the operations.
That's the thing about, when you get a new computer, the high you get from it is very fleeting. It disappears real quick.
Really fast.
Hey, this is great. Like, it's a little faster, and then you try to do something and you push it, and you're like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
that's about it.
Like the me of 5 years ago is no longer the me of now in terms of tech.
Right?
Because like when they announced the M1 Ultra, the Mac Studio, I was just like, I have to.
Well, that was a generational leap.
It was true. That's true. I'm like, yeah.
So then it's exciting.
Yeah. So I had to do it and I got it fully spec'd. And, people say, oh, Macs are so expensive. But if you pound for pound, if you load it up, and you spend way more than you would on a PC in the beginning, it will last 5 to 8 years. No problem. No problem. In a pinch,
with support.
In a pinch, I could use my trash can Mac Pro from 2013.
Right.
If I had to. Also has 128 gigs of RAM. I could do no problem if I needed to. So pound for pound, Macs are cheaper than PCs. I would have to argue. I don't know. You know a lot more about PCs than I do, but I think pound for pound in terms of what you get versus what you pay and how long. Like, can you show me a Intel Core 2 Duo that can even load Windows 11? I don't think so. You know, Bobby's like, all right, let me go further back. Pentium, a Pentium 4?
Windows 11? No.
Yeah.
The instruction set isn't there.
So if you can remember, what was the max amount of RAM you had when doing World 2? Oh, that's a very good question. Damn, that's a good question.
19, what was it, 2000?
Year 2000, yeah. So I had the Mirador G4.
You're in the megabytes, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
You're in the, I would say.
So I'll tell you this, the sample cell 2 cards that I had inside each had 32 megabytes of RAM. So in terms of sample RAM, my K2500, which I still have had 128 megabytes of RAM. And then the actual Mac, I have honestly no idea. I mean, yeah, under 1 gigabyte. So you can go to everymac.com and you can find out, I guess. Or I could ask, S. Siri. If you just say her name, she gets into your business. I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm not sure I understood that. If you open up your iPhone, I can give you more results on Wikipedia. It's like,
I could have just done that myself.
Exactly. I could have done all that myself. So, let's see here. I mean, it's a good question. I just don't have the answer handy here. Why can't I find Safari here? Oh, right, because it's in my chat window. Let's see. So, max RAM in Mac Mirador G4. My poor G4 that's still dead. Oh, apparently 2 gigabytes in total. Yeah. Although it's AI overview, I don't trust AI anymore.
Yeah, 2 gigabytes sounds like a lot.
You know how many times it's wrong? It was wrong.
Yeah, I'd never trust the AI. So
I don't trust it.
I would just turn that off. Yeah.
G4 RAM upgrade. I have a Power Mac and I want to upgrade more. This is on the Apple website. Usually if it's an answer from them. I don't know. Anyway, go if you want spin, you can go to everymac.com and you can get the exact specs there. I don't remember honestly, but
so I'll tell you this: in the 2002 G4 could go up to 256 megabytes of RAM.
Oh, then yeah, for sure. I probably had 128 megs probably. Because back then, to max out a computer was like so stupid of a proposition. It was crazy how expensive it was. Did I ever tell you the sad story of my GeForce 733? So I bought a G4. This is before the Mirador, literally.
I know it. Yeah. I heard the story. I don't think the stream has heard the story. It's a good story.
The day before this Mirador G4 came out, I went to the Apple store and I spent 12,000 American dollars circa year 2000-ish and got my G4 733 megahertz full maxed RAM. The first time I ever bought maximum RAM. And I bought a cinema display, 22 inches. Like I spent 10K or 12K, something like this. And then the very next day,
1990, what?
1999, 2000-ish. Like that was
10,000 is like, that was easy twice.
Easy 20 grand today.
Right.
Easily 20 grand today. And my friend Henri calls me the next day. He's like, dude. I'm like, what? What? Did someone die? Like just the way he said, dude. Dude. I'm like, what? What's wrong? He's like, dude, you need to sit down. I'm like, I'm in my studio. He's like, okay, just go to apple.com. Dude, I'm so sorry. I go to apple.com. My fully maxed was now the base model of the G4 Mirador. So all that money, and I literally like just put my head in my hands. And I always try to stay positive, right? So I was just sort of like, well, what can I do about it? You know, I can either feel bad about it or I can start making music with it. And I chose to make music with it, you know? And not only that, there was a massive price cut. The base model was like significantly cheaper, and the maxed out version was also significantly cheaper. And you know what I wound up doing? I wound up buying a Mirador because they just look so damn cool. And I bought like sort of the middle tier, which was still faster and better. And I didn't use that as my main Mac though. I still used the 733 because it was super rock solid. I used the Mirador as my Reason setup. So Reason was like really like amazingly popular and just incredible. Right. And that was my dedicated Reason machine. And I had a 4x4 MIDI interface to just interact with all the different synths that I had in my Reason Mac. So it was like a Mac G4 that was basically a Reason synth, dedicated, and literally did nothing except had Reason always loaded. So anyway, anybody else out there have anything on their mind or comment or horror stories about
buying a maxed out Mac
and then buying a maxed out Mac and then crying?
That happened to me similarly. I bought the maxed out 2015 MacBook Pro, and then a year later they brought out the new MacBook Pro, the 2016. No, the 2019. I bought it 2018, 2019, right before they switched, and everybody had complained for years about how shitty that keyboard was.
Right.
And a few months later, they brought out the new one when they went back to the 2015 keyboard.
The butterfly.
Yeah, the butterfly switches. And yeah, I did the same thing. I bought the new one.
Yeah.
Maxed out all over again.
You know what? You can never time tech. This is the one thing I think Bobby and I can both say for sure. You can't time the tech. You can look at, like, we all knew the rumors. The rumor mills are much more accurate now than they were back.
Right.
And, you know, the internet was like only 5 years old back then. So like you couldn't like go to Mac Rumors or, you know, 9 to 5 Mac, and, you know, they were magazines. I remember Mac Life was a magazine, a physical, like you would order it, you subscribe to the magazine, it showed up at your house, you know. Actually, it was really funny. I had an apple on my desk. This is when I was teaching physical apple that you eat. And it was, you know, part of my packed lunch I brought when I was teaching game composition at the Toronto Film School. And just so happened my edition of Mac Life magazine arrived. And I was just sitting there, you know, the apple's on my desk, and I'm literally reading Mac Life, and one of my students snapped a picture. And I have it somewhere, but what an iconic, funny moment, I guess. Right. It looks like totally posed. What?
Yeah. I would love to see that picture.
Yeah.
You should find it.
Do you know that I made an Apple Watch before there was an Apple Watch? And it was published in Mac Life magazine because they thought it was so cool. Here's what I mean. Let me explain. So do you remember the iPod Nano Touch? That was like a perfect square.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then a lot of people made third-party watch bands for it because it's what made Apple realize, oh shit, we should make an Apple Watch. Because so many people, well, the day I ordered one, and the day it arrived, I was like, damn, this could go great on my wrist. And I love fossil watches, and I used to have a collection. I still have it somewhere, but I love their bands and the modular design, and they're fantastic. So I have a whole bunch of these watch bands, right? And so I just sort of found the cooler one, and then I wound up using the old school telephone cable that were all multicolored, and anyway, they're just copper not
Right.
even twisted pair, like just simple copper. Anyway, I wound up running that around and then tying. So you didn't see a thing, but it just a beautiful fossil band with bang, right? And this is the very first day that I got my iPod Touch, and I thought it was so damn cool. And I don't even remember why or how. Somebody said, you got to send that to Mac Life. I'm like, why? Like, they'll think it's so cool that they'll publish it.
Right.
And they did.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have it?
Say again?
Do you have the magazine?
The magazine? No, that's long gone. But I still have the watch, yeah. So I never sold those. Those things are so damn cool.
Right.
Okay, wait. Let me go get my cool. I have two cool
Let's see
Apple
it.
Watches.
Yeah, if you have it, let's see it.
Let's do it, right? Keep the people entertained, Bobby.
Right. Okay. It's my job. Here, I'll go through the chat. There was something somebody said. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what anybody said anymore.
All right. So, by the way, these will not power on because they've been like
Dead for a
off
while.
for like 10 years, basically.
Right.
But I'll start with the runner-up. Okay. And by the way, this is not the original I took the photo of. These are real fossil bands and third-party faceplates that I eventually bought because they're way cooler and better than what I did. So, anyway, so here. Oh, wait a second.
Wow.
This is a much better one here. So this is the iPod Touch with a fossil
Holy
band.
shit. Look at that.
Isn't that slick? How slick? So this is before there was an Apple Watch. Okay, I'm just saying. And then the winner, this is the winner. This is still, in my opinion, this is still way cooler than any Apple Watch you can buy. Way cooler. And this one was really difficult. I had to actually get a Dremel tool. There's a million things I had to do to get this to work, but there it is. Look at that.
Wow. That
Isn't
looks
that
really
slick?
that looks proper. Wow.
Right?
I wouldn't. Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you know, I was with the producer of the first film that I did here in Italy, and Giorgio Albertazzi, very famous Italian actor, and I was fortunate enough to meet him. And he's like saying it all in Italian, and it's being translated to me in English. Like, he's like, and the producer's like, he loves that watch, and he wants to know where you bought it. And I said, well, I made it, because I literally had to, oh, you don't know what I went through to make this actually work. It was a lot, including some soldering and dremeling. Okay.
Right.
It's like and it still doesn't actually fully, like, it's really sticky here. It sticks. It doesn't go smooth and looks good, but it snaps. It's like not perfect because I'm not a craftsman, Anyway, I said, well, I made them. And then she's like, the female producer, she's like, well, he wants to know how much do you want for it? And I said, oh, it's not for sale. Now, this is a famous Italian actor who's, got a lot of money and is not used to being told no. And so he's like, no, come on. She's like, no, seriously, like how much? And I'm like, it's not for sale. And so then he's like, 1,000 euro, 1,000 euros. And I'm like, no. He's like, do it. And I'm like, it's not for sale. I said, 1,000,000 euro.
Okay.
Nonne. So he was
If he gave
so
you $1 million,
upset.
you wouldn't have taken it.
It was the principle of it. You know what it is? I mean, I guess for $1 million, sure.
Right.
But even like, let's go with 25,000, let's say. Not for sale.
Not worth
It's a one-of-a-kind item. It's literally, I will never sell this. I will leave it to spin in my will.
There you go,
Because
Stan.
he's going to
Congratulations.
get a lot of things in my will. I promised him so many things. So why not leave this to him too? No, I'll tell you what, I'll leave it to you, Bobby. Okay. Because since you seem to really admire it, I will leave it to you.
I admire the craft and I admire the
It took a long freaking
right.
time to be able to do this and to get it. And I spent, I don't know, I got to say at
Dedication.
least 8 to 10 hours. Like what we were talking about before about planning. Part of it was just planning and laying things out. But yeah,
Right.
look at that. It's still, to me, it looks better
it's
than
legit.
a real Apple Watch. I'll tell you what, I have my real Apple Watch here, and I'll just put them side by side, and we'll go back to the camera here. And yeah, I think pound for pound, mine looks way better. I don't
I
know,
like
man.
the I like how it's sharper, right? So the edges and it doesn't
Yeah.
have that
I
smoothness and
mean,
stuff.
yeah, let's be
It
fair.
gives it
Part of it is
a
the design,
more
right? Like I think,
brutalistic look, and
I
I
mean
really
this,
appreciate it.
yeah, this it looks, I don't know. I love this thing, man. I might even start wearing it again. Shit. It's really
Any way to
cool.
charge it?
Say again?
Have you tried to charge it?
Yeah, actually, I bet you if I were to power it on, I'm rolling the dice here, Bobby. No, it's dead as a doornail. Yeah, probably it's completely, I bet it's completely, well, I'll try to, I'll charge it up later and
Okay.
then I will see how long does it last. But by the way, this is mint. This is like, that's the other thing about it.
Right.
It's like
That's beautiful.
mint, not a scratch. Like I take very good care of my tech, you know? So anyway, you know what it is? Like all of this is an extension of my creativity. You know, I'm a
Right.
very creative person, right? And so the very day the iPod Touch Nano came out, I figured out how to get it on to a wristband. It was actually a leather wristband. It looked really nice actually. The original one looked great. But this, and then it evolved to become this, you know, which is a Fossil brand band. And Fossil, and by the way, I had to destroy one of my Fossil watches. This is the other thing,
Mm.
commitment. I destroyed one of my other Fossil watches to be able to get this band off of it. And because it was hardwired in, it's not like you couldn't, you know, get one of the watch
Yeah.
tools and pry it open. And this is where the whole soldering and the whole, the dremeling and cutting and, you know, I'm like looking like a welder, you know, in my goggles and sparks are flying, destroyed one of my watches, but all in the pursuit of making the perfect watch. And, you know, the Italians, and especially Giorgio Albertazzi, this guy, I mean, is dressed like you've never seen a more sophisticated, stylish dresser. He was old, but he looked like $1,000,000, man. And the Italians are, I mean, the kings of fashion. They know everything about. Milan is one of the fashion centers of the world. The greatest brands of all time are all Italian brands, right? They know fashion better than anyone. And he
Yeah.
immediately, just his eye, boom. And he wanted this. He offered €2,000. Not for sale, man. And you know what part of it was? Why I resisted? It was his like, I can have anything I want. I can buy you out.
Right.
I just hated
Yeah.
the attitude. I hated it. Like he was
It's
almost
a
like
it's a dirty feeling
it
for someone
is,
to
yeah.
come up
Like
and be like,
it's like I'm
give me
not for
the thing,
sale.
you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like my creativity, my ideas, you know, it's not a commodity or product. This is like a symphony, you know. Game soundtracks, that's for sale because we're coming together. We're two parties agreeing like, hey,
Yeah.
you need a product and a service. I provide the product and the service. You'll pay me. I'll make fantastic music for you because like, you know,
Right.
right? But this almost felt like something about the way he asked me, like you're a nothing, you know. I can
Yeah.
have what I want.
I'll throw some money at you and
Bothered, yeah,
you'll do
it
whatever.
bothered me.
Right.
And I kept just saying, no, it's not for sale. Anyway, he died 6 months later. So, you know, I mean, I don't know why that's funny, but, you know, it didn't have anything to do with my watch. But I did go to his funeral. I went to his funeral, you know. So, oh, my God. That was a really surreal, otherworldly experience going to that funeral. Holy shit. Yeah. Anyway, you know, he was a great actor, one of the great Italian old school, you know, Shakespearean actors. And anyway, oh dear. All right, let's catch up on the chat here. What's going on here? Wow, love the watch. Very proper even today. Thank you. Amazing, David. Real piece of art. Thank you, guys. Thank you for all for saying these lovely things. Okay, that was a funny story. You can't put a price on the custom watch. That's right, Nick. You can't. We all have destroyed and cannibalized something for parts. Yes, also true. It's a small sacrifice, but it's worth it for the final project. Damn right. And you made peak. I think it's one of the most beautiful watches I own. Good for you, David. Stand your ground. Okay, I just learned he had died a few months later. Definitely worth keeping. Yeah, I mean, you know, like the way I see it, and I, you know, might sound a little ridiculous, but okay, I could have gotten 2,000 for this, but I wouldn't have it today. And here's the point. Once every year, maybe? Well, I'll pass it by. It's in my little watch collection, right? Like I have a little stand. But once in a while, I'll take it off the stand and I'll just like hold it.
Yeah.
And admire it and just look at
Right.
it. Like, you know, and I'll just put it on my wrist. And once a year, I'll maybe charge it just to have it on, tell the time, and just look at it. And when I did use this, right, the you know, the headphone jack, right? Sorry, let's go over here for a sec. The headphone jack is right there. Okay, that's the headphone jack, the charging, and then the controls are here, just perfectly, you know, for a right-handed person wearing their watch on the left hand. So when I used to wear this, like, you know, especially like in the winter time and it's cold back in, you know, the day before coming here, when I was still in Toronto, I would have my headphones run up my sleeve and come out my shirt, and they go right in, and I'd make sure there was enough slack so I could reach my arm out if I had to and not have the headphones yank off of my head. So it was really practical as well, as far as like a functioning piece of wearable tech, you know. And, you know, my father, who was, you know, a bit of an entrepreneur, and he was also involved in politics. He was also a physics professor. He was like, did a lot of things, my dad. He's like, you have to market this. You have to make a business. I'm like, come on, Dad, who's going to buy an Apple Watch? Well, he got that one right. He's like, David, I'm telling you, you've got something here. And I'm like, it's just a hobby. He's like, no, you got to make a business. I'm going to call my VC friend and we're going to get you some funding. I said, Dad, I'm a fucking composer, man. I don't want to be, I don't want to make watches. It's like, but this is before this one. This is just my leather wristband one, you know, because even I remember we were having dinner and one of my, I have 3 sisters. One of them was just like, oh my God, that's the coolest watch ever. And that's when my dad kind of went crazy. And because when he realized it was an Apple Watch, because again, like I invented the Apple Watch before anyone had the Apple Watch. And it just blew his mind because he was always an Apple guy. He's, you know, he's an educator, right? In fact, the very first Macintosh one in 1984, he brought it home. He bought one. So I guess the university bought it for him, but he brought it home, and that changed my life forever. I'll never forget Mac Paint, you know, just playing for hours. And yeah. Anyway, good for you, David Sandra. Okay, laughing my ass off. That is hilarious irony. But I guess I understand his perspective. If you can do something amazing, but never do it for free. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, is what it is. Look how far away from from analog versus digital. No? Isn't it interesting? So if we had the Apple Watch before analog clocks, well, just the whole idea of how watches, like the unbelievable history of like
Watches are amazing.
It's
They are. Yeah.
unbelievable. Like the apprenticeships that people go through, like 15 years of study and training before they can even like add 1 jewel into the faceplate or whatever. Like it's insane, like what has gone into the history of it. And the fact that all watches before the idea of quartz in the 80s, were just completely analog, not tuned to quartz crystals, just like springs, gears, levers, and they were accurate. And maybe once every 6 months, you might have to just make a little adjustment. Man, even a digital clock you buy on Amazon is not even that. Like, it's like so inaccurate. It's like off by 5 minutes every week, I'll buy a bunch, I bought them from AliExpress, and then I essentially just like, threw them all in the garbage because they were just so bad. I just thought, well, aren't all clocks made in China? They're all like perfect. No, they all tell time great. Not on AliExpress. No. So, all right. Well, what do you think, Bobby? Should we wrap things up?
I think we're good.
Excellent. Fun conversation like always. David, thanks so much for your help with the UF8. It's my job for later tonight. Got to go, child. Take care, JT Scott. Good luck with that. I hope it works out for you. I just pictured a comedic flashback of Mr. Logan telling a younger David he has a chance to make it big, like Grandpa Joe from Willy Wonka. Yeah. I have made it big because you know what? I'm in a place in my life where I feel I should be, I have a small little place I've carved out for myself in this absolutely insane, crazy universe. So it really is crazy. And just in closing, like I don't want to, close on a negative note, but for all the people in the news who are saying, is this the beginning of World War III? Dude, we've been in World War III for 2 years already. What else would you call what's happened in the world over the last 2 years? Anyway, let's not get negative. But
anyway, let's end the stream on that.
Yeah, let's end the stream on that. Yeah, on World War III stuff. So anyway, listen, I hope really, really, I am too much of an empath because like as soon as I see these, stories and explosions and like, these casual, like, 150 people were killed. It's like, fuck, how can you say that was such a casual, like, as if it's like, doctors discovered a new species of, bacteria. And 150 people were killed. It's like, I don't know, just so casual nature of it. And it's like not casual. It affects me, man.
Hey, Playboy.
It's human lives, human lives. So.
They all become pixels on a screen.
Yeah. Well, Anyway, let's try to keep this positive. Shall we end maybe on a little bit of Pac-Man music? let's hear the MKS 80s. You know what? The funny thing is, because of all the modular setup, I have decided I'm completely going to rebuild my whole studio because the way. So right now, literally, it's not even hooked up. I could hook it up. I'll tell you what I will do. I will play you the track. Well, I did want to hear like even just 5 seconds of Pack Village or something. But what I will do to give you a taste of the MKS 80, because I don't want to deny anybody the pleasure.
I don't even think we've heard it on the stream yet, have we?
Heard what?
The MKS 80.
No, you haven't. So that's why I'm saying if you want to hear it,
let's hear it.
This is a track that I actually piece of music for a new job, and they just wanted like sort of like, well, doesn't matter. Anyway, this bass you were hearing, the bass is all from the MKS 80. it's not a terribly good track. Anyway, I'm just going to load up the file also. Sorry, let me just... I'll tell you what we can do. Oh, thanks, Ben. So here's what we can do. I'll tell you what, we'll go sort of full circle. While this is loading up, I would not want to deny anybody a good little taste of some Pac-Man World 2 music. So while we're waiting, I mean, what else can we do while we're waiting? Let's have a little bit, some forest music. There we go. All this talking about World War III. Hell no, we're gonna do some Pac-Man World 2. Make the people happy. Get those African pipes. The hunting pipe. So here's what we'll do though. That's a good question. I don't know if Scuba Dooba uses the MKS80. Let's scoot over to Scuba Dooba and let's see. I don't remember, honestly. Let's see. Scuba Dooba. Let's try. So far it's the virus. No, that's an 808 bass. Remember, I was doing 808 basses before they were cool.
Right.
Building Apple Watches before they were cool. I'm an innovator, folks. All right,
Yeah.
so here's what we'll do. Let's do this. We will, and let's go full screen for this. What I'll do is I'll play you. So this is the MIDI of the Super Jupiter right here. And then what I did is I recorded it in audio because, again, this idea is that, the Super Jupiter, depending on the time of day and the heat and humidity, will change the oscillators. So I had to record it and commit it as it sounded. So here it is. So fat. Oh, juicy. Just juicy. So here's what we'll do. We'll do a couple things with this now. Number one, let's listen to it on a standard bass guitar. Same bass line. Except we need to bring that down by an octave. Which is lovely, but punchy as hell. Oh, delicious.
That sounds great.
Now, here's what I'm really interested to do, though. I was telling Bobby earlier before we started about... Oh, let me do this. Sorry. Hold on. Let me pull up this first. I was telling him that I was... I had attempted to make, like, I don't know how many times, but where are we here? There we go. Many different forms of the MKS80. My main bass patch from the MKS80. So we have 19 attempts here. We have another 6 attempts here. So yeah, like 25 attempts to get the original sound.
Right.
So let's now listen to my attempt at a 1-to-1 recreation because I have the MIDI. Oops. See that?
Whoa.
It sounds like a thin freaking fart. Am I right?
Right.
Guys, I 1-to-1 copied every single parameter. It just sounds like a fart. It sounds like a fart. And so You want that, or would you prefer? Oh,
They don't
come
even
on,
sound- I
man.
mean,
Come on.
if I just heard the two, I wouldn't even think that they're the same instrument.
I know. Well, this is why I'm saying, for me, the Super Jupiter feels really different to a Jupiter 8. Now, let's be fair here. Let's try to match levels.
Right. Yeah.
It still doesn't have the bass response. All right, let's listen to attempt number 2. Got to go up an octave. Oops. Oops. Sorry about that. Because very often what I'm doing is I'm changing the from 16 feet to 32 feet. So,
Right.
and then I have to adjust the MIDI accordingly. Also, let's turn off the compression.
Um,
Not even close. How full and warm the original sounds.
Right.
Here's attempt number
Can we hear
3.
the original real quick?
Yep. Oh. Come on, man. It's not even close. How fat and freaking juicy that Super Jupiter is. This is why I was telling Bobby earlier about with our other partner, Emanuele, when he and I were in a session, and he agreed. He's just like, oh my God, this sounds so good. I honestly, like, this sounds amazing to me. Here's number 3 attempt.
Closer, but it's not it. Yeah.
I know, like, I just can't. Not even close. Let's go to number 4 or D. It's great. It's great sounding bass, but it's not.
Yeah, but then when you hear the
Forget it.
right.
Forget it. Forget it. It's over, man. This thing
And
is
this
a
was
beast.
that's the 4-hour warmed up version.
No, that was from X-Men. This is just literally, no, this is just like after being
Oh,
on
okay.
for an hour or
That's
so.
the original. Okay.
Yeah. No, the X-Men is a different patch actually entirely. If you want, I can also fire up the X-Men if you want, and we can listen to that. But let's go to version number 5. This is closer. Sounds great.
Yeah. That sounds pretty good.
However, forget it. This is better. Way better. But this
Clear,
one,
crisper. Yeah, you hear that.
it's punchy, beefy.
Right. Right.
And, you know, look, we can also go on the controls over here. I'm just messing with the envelopes. I just can't get the attack. No matter what I do with the envelope, I just can't get the same attack. Listen to the attack. Oh.
Right.
Now, wait a second. To be fair, I just realized I do have a compressor on here and a decapitator. Let's take them both off. It's still better. This is great, though. This one is very close.
Right.
There are different volumes, though. I'm trying to get the... Anyway, this just rocks.
I mean, I think the most important part is how quickly you can get to what sounds good. Right? And if you can get there faster with the gear, with the actual hardware,
well,
then it wins.
I suppose this MKS80 sound, this one here, this is literally like, this is the exact patch I made like, 25 years ago. And I still have it, you know. And I guess it's just something I'm so familiar with and comfortable with. Oh, that's terrible. Terrible. Yeah, that is so bad.
Should that be down an octave?
Yeah, but even still, it sounds bad.
Right.
It should. Yes, you're right. It should be down an octave, but even down an octave. No, it was in the correct octave actually. It just sounds bad.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, this is a beast. Put a bit of compression, some saturation. Oof. That is it right there, man.
Yeah.
That's the sound, man. That is the greatest bass I'll ever. It just sounds amazing, actually, because now it has the saturator and the compressor on the original. Let's put it on. Hey, what happened? What happened? I'm going to leave the saturator and the compressor on for these so we can get a real one-to-one comparison. See, that's very close, but it doesn't have that punch, the attack. It's got the warmth and the bass, but it doesn't have the punch. It has that little something. Anyway, so there you go. There's the first official use of the MKS80. Maybe we'll do, if we want next week, we can do maybe an X-Men Mutant Academy stream, and I'll bust out all the original stuff, and maybe we can compare the Super Jupiter then. What do you think? Because I'm kind of tired now. Oh, I don't think I hear you anymore, Bobby.
There we go. Fixed.
Oh, there you are.
I muted it. I didn't want any feedback on the
no
bass.
Worries.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good night to everybody who joined us tonight. Just check.
Thank you all.
What a lovely sound. Something about it. Give me Donkey Kong vibes. Hey, man, that's cool. I can hear the absolute difference. Yeah, man, it's like night and day. It's really like night and day. So the Jupiter 8 is fantastic, but this is a bass machine, you know. This, I mean, look, Nile Rodgers, I told you, replaced Bernard Edwards on several tracks using this for bass, not the Jupiter 8, but the MKS80, because it sounds so juicy for I don't like to say fat bass anymore, because Dead Mouse is like, what does it even mean? Fat bass. He's so bitter and angry, but I love him. He's authentic. That's what I love about Dead Mouse. He is authentic. Oops, I can only do that from here. There we go. Screen, yeah. There we go. Anyway. All right. Well, congratulations. You received 100 messages today. Hey, that's cool. All right. Well, Bobby, thank you as ever. And thank you to everybody who joins us. Hey, man, you know, if you want, tell your friends about our little stream and, you know, invite them. Nothing wrong with that, right? Modern day version of begging. Like and subscribe. All right, guys. So, again, thanks, Bobby. Thanks, everybody. And like I always say, I think that the purpose of life is to find some purpose in life. And I think that the meaning of life